Deputy President. Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. Over the years, I've come across many admirable contributors to the autism sector, but few meet with the amazing standards set by 92-year-old Olga Tennison. Her profound impact on the lives of autistic people and their families have been achieved through a close partnership with Professor Cheryl Disanyaki, and I apologise, I'm sure my pronunciation is incorrect there, of La Trobe University, where through her generous support they established Australia's first research centre dedicated to autism, the Olga Tennison Autism Research Centre, or OTARC. This world-leading research centre at La Trobe University would not have been possible without the significant private donations that now exceed a staggering $6 million. There are few people in this country with the energy, drive and determination of this impressive and inspirational woman. She was born Olga Hayward in Rockhampton, Queensland, and attended primary school in Brisbane and St Ursula's, a Catholic boarding school in Toowoomba, for her secondary studies. While she was there, one of the nuns recognised her talent for clear speaking and acting and encouraged her to train as a stage and radio actress. She trained with Jean Trundle, then well-known speech teacher in Brisbane, who also had a small theatre company where Olga performed. While training, she sat for and passed competitive examinations in speech for prestigious qualifications from Trinity College in London. After completing her schooling and actors training, she worked at a bank while pursuing her acting career as a stage and radio actress with the ABC. She was married in Brisbane to Patrick Tennison, a well-known journalist and author working for the Melbourne Herald. They first lived in Sydney and then moved to Melbourne, following a period in London where her husband Patrick co-founded the Melbourne Press Club in 1971 and was its first president. Olga gave up working as an actress after her second child was born. Her interest in autism was triggered when her grandson was diagnosed with Asperger's disorder at 12, despite her recognition that he had a developmental delay from a few months of age. Mrs. Tennison does not seek public recognition for her generosity. She's entirely modest about her significant contribution to OTARC and La Trobe University, although she greatly appreciates that her gifts may inspire others to support autism research and services. It was for this reason alone that she reluctantly agreed to have the centre named after her. Indeed, her initial support in 2007 that led to establishing the centre provided a critical visibility into autism that had not been realised prior to this simple act of generosity. Moreover, her voice as someone with a close experience of autism gives her authenticity to speak on behalf of the centre and promote the work that's being undertaken, of which she is incredibly proud, and rightly so, may I say. Through its research outcomes and the services, OTARC provides enormous value to the community at large. The training of students and professionals, including GPs, maternal and child health nurses, and other educational and allied health specialists, as well as dissemination of information in the general community, and most importantly to those families living with autism, means that evidence-based information can inform best practice now and into the future. Beginning with a focus on infancy and early childhood, research within the centre over a period of 12 years now spans well into adulthood, with programs supporting autism employment, suicide prevention and a core understanding of growth and development throughout the lifespan. Mrs. Tennison's visible public support for the work of OTARC inspires its staff and provides comfort for individuals and families with and for whom the centre is working. We've come a long way in autism research in Australia, including establishing the Australasian Society for Autism Research in 2009, a member-based organisation to advance autism research and scholarship, which would also not have been possible but for Olga's support. This has been an outcome of the initial and ongoing unwavering generosity of a single individual in our community. It's important to note that Olga has never requested any recognition. If one were to calculate her donations as a percentage of her wealth, she would rank in the highest echelons of philanthropic activity. Unlike many major donors and philanthropists in Australia, she's not from an intergenerational family with wealth and a long history of philanthropic giving, nor is she from a successful corporate background. She lives a life without extravagance, so that the money she and her husband accrued over a lifetime can be put to use in a significant and lasting, meaningful way. Madam Acting Deputy President, I have an autistic son. And when my child was diagnosed, the grief and the challenges that you face as a parent trying to discover and what therapies are the best options for you to undertake, where to turn, where to get assistance, where to get support, is incredibly challenging, is incredibly difficult. It was 9 years ago and it still is today. And it's the work of organisations such as OTARC that has provided so much comfort to families like mine, especially in Melbourne, where they've worked on studies, including an incredible study that I learnt about a number of years ago, where they are now able to assess and look at autism and recognise autism in children under 12 months. This is a huge step forward because with autism, the earlier the intervention, the more successful the outcome. Whatever interventions you provide a child with autism, they will always leap forward. You don't know how they're going to leap forward, you don't know how they're going to develop and what success is going to come and where on the spectrum they're going to end up falling, and that will move throughout a child's life. But we do know that the earlier the intervention, the more intensive and best quality intervention, the more successful the outcomes are going to be. And the work of OTARC, looking at a study of a number of children from when they were under 12 months and looking at what success rate they had in identifying autism at that period to when the children were then 5, was absolutely extraordinary. And to be able to put these diagnosis criteria in place, to have better understanding throughout the medical profession what it is they need to look for when they're looking at children with autism or potential developmental delays, to be able to do it at that young age is going to ensure that we have the best possible outcomes for that child and for their family. It's also looking at best practice intervention. We have a challenging environment throughout Australia. We have it's an inbuilt resistance in some respects to best practice therapy. We have on the Raising Children website acknowledgement that therapies such as applied behaviour analysis are well supported by evidence and research to be best practice early intervention therapy, yet we have a blockage within much of the funding resources and government that has traditionally been opposed to such significant behavioural therapy. It's also opposed considerably by some more adults that are diagnosed with autism who usually have never experienced the therapy for themselves and certainly are relying on evidence from, perhaps 50, 60 years ago as opposed to how these programs are being delivered today. But it is with the work of organisations such as OTARC that we see the recognition of best practice, we see what research and evidence can produce and how best to help Australian families. And I know that my experience has been mirrored by so many Australian families. Like so many families and most people in this room I know would know someone whose family has been affected by autism and has a child or themselves has an autism spectrum. So many Australians are affected both directly or indirectly. But it's with thanks to people like Olga Tennison that there's comfort and that there's hope. And it's the groundbreaking research at La Trobe University and the significance of that research and the undertaking and understandings surrounding those on the spectrum that so much has been improved. I know with our work in the Senate Select Autism Inquiry, we are hoping to build upon that and look forward to when Melbourne opens up again, being able to meet with those from La Trobe University as well as the OTARC Centre. So we have much to be grateful for, and many Australian families I know would like me to say on their behalf, it is with great gratitude that we acknowledge the amazing philanthropic donations that enabled the Olga Tennison Research Centre to be developed in the first place and for the work that it continues to undertake. So it's my great honour to highly commend her for her sincere charitable efforts and to record our deep and sincere gratitude for posterity.